All right, so this is a surgical guide that was made in Blue Sky Bio, and I just want to show you a couple tricks that you can do in Mesh Mixer to just clean that up a little bit. Blue Sky does have the option to add a window, but their windows are cube shaped, and I just want to show you how you can do that with a different shape. I'm going to change the size of this down. I'm going to hide my cast because I don't really need it. And I'm going to bring this down, and there's a lot of ways that you can do this, but we'll just show you one here. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to align part of it, this back part where I want it, and as a whole put this how we want it to be. So it's coming down through the teeth. Change it a little bit, come back down, something like this. And then I'm going to hit accept, which is A on the keyboard. And then we're going to come in with our plane cut. And I'm going to cut right here just so I can, and flip this around. That way I can see my model. And I'm going to just see this line right here. I'm just going to parallel that line a little bit, something like this. Okay. And hit accept. So now I have a piece that's going to cut at a different angle. And I am going to use the button here to generate face groups, because that's going to help with making a nice clean cut. And then we'll go ahead and hit escape, click here, hold down shift, click here, and do a Boolean difference. Now one thing I'll note is that these primitive cubes, the triangles on them aren't very good. So if you just hit accept, you'll end up, here I'll go ahead and do that. If you just hit accept, you're going to end up most likely with some areas that aren't very clean. Oh, you know what? Never mind. It did work only because of this box. I'm going to go back up. Because we did that, the boundary, the face group trick, it preserved those group borders and left them nice and sharp. If you didn't do that trick and you just had it as one face group, what you're going to notice is, and I want to show it to you so you can see what it looks like. Go ahead and hit accept. You should see that there's some areas in here that are not quite so sharp. That still did it. Oh well. And then I'm just going to clean that up. All right, so now we have something. If I turn this back on, you can see now I have this area that is leaving ample strength right here and here, but it gives me a lot of tooth to cover, okay? And that is how I like to design my surgical guides. I only want them being supported in a few areas by the guide. Otherwise, I want it nice and wide open. The other thing that I like to do is right through here, I like to widen this out so that I can see better access for the assistants, and I rely on the lingual for my strength. And so I come and I do a plane cut through here, but I don't want to cut all the way through. And so what I do is I'll select an area like this, where I'm going to be cutting in the middle of that. And by selecting that and coming in here for my plane cut instead of the edit menu, I can come through here. And I normally don't want to go at the halfway point because I still want my tube to fit in there. I come to about here and then I drag it out that way. And then I usually just do a slice. And then I do the same thing on the other side. So type S on the keyboard, come out this way, and select that, and then come in with the plane cut again and come right through about like that. Maybe I could come back just a little bit. And see right here, it's going to delete the wrong side, so I'm going to flip that around, and I'm going to hit, I'm going to go to slice. So now I have this piece right here that is, so I click on this, hit E for expanded connected, selects the whole thing. I can delete that now. And now I end up with something where, because this is narrow right here at the opening, the tube will still slide into place, but now I have things wide open for things like irrigation. If I want to open it up even more, I'm going to hide my model. If I want to open this up more so that I can get in even more with that irrigation, a couple ways you could do that. You could come through and kind of do a plane cut through here, or you could use your primitives again and maybe bring in something like a sphere. Okay, scoot back and bring this in. Something like this, but to pull it down underneath, we'll shrink that. A cylinder also works well for something like this. You could get fancy with the align, using pivots and things to get that to be more exact. But notice I can come right up underneath it about like that. I don't want to take too much away because I want there to be a good amount of resin to hold on to the tube. But by doing like this, I can do another Boolean difference in here and hit accept and create just a little bit more space. So if my model's turned on, you can see that the tube's going to be right here, but that's going to be open up. And I mean, you can literally continue to play with this. You can grab this area through here and then come in from the side, maybe this side. And you could grab the plane cut and angle that just a little more. Open that up even more. I'd say the biggest takeaway from this is using your plane cut off of a selection and using the primitives shapes. And this is definitely unnecessary at this point, but you can come through and create some nicer. I'm just going parallel to that, pull it out a little bit, accept. You can see just cleaning it up a little bit here and there. If you want to get out your selection tool, come right down through the center here. You could, I'm going to just click up here. I'm going to parallel this plane that I cut right there. I'm going to draw my line right through here, like so. I don't always do all of these, but it at least gives you an idea on some of the things you can do in Mesh Mixer to go ahead and clean things up. Okay, so right there I went beyond my selection, and so it didn't close. Or something else is going on. Why isn't it closing? through the selection back here. There we go. And maybe as a last piece, this out here. So I'm going to turn this model back on. Meant to do that to this, just so you can see some contrast in color. So you can see that this is going to fit nicely on the model, and right here it's going to be wide open for some irrigation. It was pretty easy to do. All those things I showed you, I don't always do them. Sometimes I just make my window in blue sky, but then I'll just bring it into Mesh Mixer to open that up, only because I want it to be easier to gain access for irrigation. So hopefully that gives you some ideas on some things you can do with surgical guides. Thanks a lot. Bye.